I'm sure everyone watching this right now is already very caught up with Sony's press conference from E3. So the fact that you're watching this right now, still wanting to hear my opinion on the event, means a lot to me. It's people just like you that helped the channel pass 250,000 subscribers today. Really insane, and I cannot say thank you enough. I went crazy over the E3 weekend and I covered every single event hours after it happened, but Sony's, I was so devastated that my channel got banned and I won't go into it again, and I was tired that I crashed and fell asleep. So here we are 2 days later, I still feel sleep deprived, I still feel like I want to take a week off of YouTube, but there is a lot I want to talk about E3. I have a few more videos planned before I finally take that rest. I love E3. I get so excited for this weekend every single year, and this year was one of the best. But how did Sony do? Was it exciting? Did it live up to my personal expectations? Let's talk about it. I think everyone was a little confused during the Sony event, and no, I'm not talking about Death Stranding, the game that continues to confuse gamers across the world. I'm talking about the event in general. It started with some Last of Us gameplay, which was awesome, but was that actually the start? Because pretty soon after, we were told that the event was about to start, and we were going into an intermission where we saw some Call of Duty. Was that an intermission during the event, or did the event not start yet? Why did we see Last of Us gameplay at the start if it wasn't the start? The entire press conference was paced really weird. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like a Sony press conference. The Sony event is the one that has so much hype behind it. It's the one that everyone has all these grand expectations for, so it's really easy for Sony to not hit that mark. And I think off the bat, the thing that felt really janky was just the pacing and the really strange event they put on. Couldn't really tell where it started and where it finished, but that doesn't really matter because we got treated to some amazing gameplay trailers, we got more information on Spider-Man, we finally have a little bit of a clue as to what Death Stranding is about, and I want to talk about that because I have my opinions on what that game is actually going to end up being. And of course, we saw some more Last of Us gameplay, and for me, that was a huge highlight for the weekend. The AI mechanics in that first Last of Us felt so real, and I loved it. And it looks like they've taken it up another notch in this Last of Us game. Just the dodging mechanics. It's just, out of the entire weekend, one of the things I was most excited about was seeing Ellie dodge attacks. It felt so natural and organic. I was even a little bit confused as to how that would work because it looked like a cutscene animation. It looked like something that was scripted, but you can clearly see that it's gameplay. How do you, when you're playing the game, how do you pull off a dodge like that? How do you pull off half the stuff that was happening in this trailer? I'm so excited to learn more about this game. Then we had a trailer for Ghost of Tsushima, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, the new game from Sucker Punch. They make some really great stuff, and this game looks gorgeous. Especially when you're riding through that field. I was watching it with RGT85. We both got banned from streaming, so we called each other so we could watch it together at least. And he said, "Is this just a riding simulator? What is this game?" And I said, "I don't care if it is. I'll pay 30 bucks just to ride through this game if the entire game looks like this." And then of course we saw some really gory and amazing samurai combat that utilizes a lot of parries and blocks and counterattacks. Another really in-depth looking combat system with some Assassin's Creed mechanics to it. The next one was kind of a surprise for me. Remedy, one of my favorite game studios, they made Alan Wake, which is one of my favorite hidden gem games. They also went on to make Quantum Break, which was another really enjoyable game, but those were all on Xbox. They've been primarily an Xbox exclusive creator, and now we see them here on the PlayStation event making a multi-platform game, so it looks like they've made the jump and broadened their horizons. And now here they are with a game called Control, which looked a lot like Quantum Break 2. Very similar gameplay mechanics, heavy on gunplay, heavy on being able to manipulate the environment with some sort of superpower. You're playing as a female this time, and it does seem to be an overall different tone to Quantum Break, but again, a very similar game. The trailer we got was awesome, and again, as a huge fan of Remedy, I will always support them and their games. I'll always give them a chance and keep playing what they make. Plus, it's always great getting a new IP, even if it looks similar to their last one. And then the biggest shock of Sony's event, and maybe even one of the biggest shocks of the weekend, was we're getting a Resident Evil 2 remake. And while we've been hearing rumors about this for the longest time, I just wasn't thinking about it during this event. I don't think a lot of us were expecting it during this event, and then there it was, and it actually looked looks amazing. It looked better than I could ever have hoped for. Resident Evil 2, out of all of the games, is the one I've played the absolute least. And I know it's a lot of people's favorites. For whatever reason, I just never finished that one. So this is kind of perfect for me. I'll pick this up and I'll finish this one instead. Then we got a trailer for Squatch Games' new game, Trevor Saves the Universe. Now, I'm actually really excited for this game because one of the best games you can play in VR right now is Accounting Plus. It's a crazy adventure. It's really hilarious. It was just a really creative VR game that was really funny to play. So while, even in my opinion, the trailer for this game didn't look that exciting, I'm still excited to play it because I have high hopes for it. I was actually surprised to have this be the only VR game. I was sort of expecting a VR montage, kind of like how Nintendo and Microsoft do those indie montages of a bunch of those indie games coming to the platform. With how much success the PlayStation VR had around Christmas time and selling out of a lot of the VR games in game stores, I was expecting more of a push on VR this year, and it definitely didn't happen. This was the only VR game we saw. And then we saw Death Stranding, a new trailer with actual gameplay. And while a lot of people left watching that trailer and that gameplay even more confused, for me, it actually answered a lot of questions, and while a lot of it is my interpretation of what I saw, I still feel like I know more about the game now than I did before. For starters, when I think of Kojima, I think of Metal Gear, I think of guns, I think of stealth, I think of explosions and C4. So when I thought of Death Stranding, I was like, is that going to be a part of the game? We've seen some trailers with army guys that have guns. Are you going to be shooting? Are you going to be killing? Everything I've seen in the trailers with Norman Reedus, I didn't get the feeling that he was going to be walking around with a machine gun blowing people away. And from the trailer we've seen now, I get the feeling it's more of a trippy adventure game with a lot of weird and creepy stuff that's happening, and it's sort of your job to progress and walk and explore through this game and just sort of witness everything. Maybe make decisions about which path you take, what you pick up, what you carry, what you do, how you get to the end goal is up to you, but a lot of it seems to be just exploration, which, coupled with an amazing story and things that keep happening to you on the way constantly, is something I can definitely get behind. I'm not saying that there's not going to be parts where maybe you pick up some kind of gun and shoot some people. I'm just kind of hoping that maybe those parts are really minimal. I'm not looking for a gunfighting action game out of this one. I'm sort of looking for an experience, and it definitely seems to be that. Then we got a sequel to the Team Ninja game Noir, and now we have Noir 2. I never know how to pronounce that. I get told so many times, I apologize. We got a bunch more of the Spidey-Mans. We got a ton of story and how the game actually seems to start, with you being in a prison riot and the whole prison is falling apart and some of the biggest, baddest enemies Spider-Man's ever faced and put away break out, and now I assume for the rest of the game you have to go around and try and put them back in prison. I like that story a lot. I was wondering which villain they were going to go for. We've had so many Spider-Man games with so many villains. It is nice to have sort of an array of villains now to take down. And then we saw a ton of the gameplay. So at this point we all know how these battle mechanics are going to work, how the swinging works. I'm so excited to swing. I've said this before, but Spider-Man 2 was such an amazing game that I love so much and hold so dear, and one of the best parts was just swinging around that city. And since then, they really managed to screw up the swinging mechanic in every single Spider-Man game, but this one seems to go back to its roots. So yeah, this trailer was really awesome. A part of me wishes I didn't see it because I want to be surprised by this game, and I'd already seen what I would consider more than enough for me to go and pick the game up, so this was almost just spoilers, but exciting nonetheless, and I can't wait to play the game in September. I'm an idiot, and I don't know how I forgot to talk about this, but we also saw some more Kingdom Hearts 3, and out of all the Kingdom Hearts 3 we saw through the entire weekend, including Microsoft's and Square Enix's event, it was the Sony conference that we got the most information in, including a bunch of gameplay that looks freaking awesome. The other two times we saw this game throughout the weekend, we just saw cinematics pretty much, but this trailer really focused on some of the awesome gameplay, and tell me you aren't getting hyped by looking at it. I also find it kind of funny how we have a ship battling mechanic in this game. I've waited so long for a pirate game, and now I have Sea of Thieves, Skull and Crossbones, and apparently Kingdom Hearts 3. This is the third time we're seeing it, and the third time I'm talking about it, but I wanted to mention that gameplay because it looked so good. And that was the event. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't hate it. It was great. We got a lot of information on a lot of things that we were looking for. Kind of like Nintendo's, where again, we didn't really get any surprises though. We got the Super Mario Party surprise, which was really nice. And in this one, we got the Resident Evil remake, which was really nice. But apart from that, and what we usually have come to expect from Sony, it was quite a short event with a bunch of intermissions that didn't flow very well. Seeing more gameplay for a lot of the games we know are coming in the next year or so was really awesome. But comparing it to other Sony years, it definitely didn't have the same impact and it definitely wasn't as exciting. But they showed what they needed to show, they gave us what they needed to give us, and I really have no complaints with everything we saw. It would have been nice to get some extra surprises, but it might be a case of we are actually getting close to wrapping up this generation of system. I wouldn't be surprised if next E3 we see some hints and we see some new information about the next PlayStation. So I think at this point maybe it's a case of they've announced all the IPs we're getting on the PlayStation 4. They're showing us more information on the sequels of the games that we've fallen in love with, and maybe there's 1 or 2 surprises left to go, but next year might be the year where it's, hey, PlayStation 5 and all of these new IPs. I was in no way disappointed by Sony's. I loved it. It just wasn't exciting. It was information that I wanted and that I needed and that I got. And call me crazy, call me weird, but for me, the most exciting part about the entire event was one little dodge that Ellie made. I'm not even kidding. It's that about Last of Us that I love. The realness of it, how natural the combat is and how natural the game feels in general. It's such a beautiful, it's a freaking work of art and I love it. But what about you guys? Let me know down below what you thought of the Sony event. What was most exciting to you? Were you happy? Were you disappointed? Are you ecstatic? Are you sad? I'd love to know. Thank you for being here and watching this with me 2 days late. It really does mean the world to me. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you learned a little something or if you want to be my best friend. Don't forget to leave that comment down below. Thank you to all the Patreons. Yet again, I nailed it. I nailed it! That's going to be my thing for the rest of these E3 videos, and there'll be a few more to come because I'm still really hyped up. I'm about to film another one right now. So I hope you stick around for those, and I hope you too nailed it. See ya.
We nailed it! We nailed it!